Hello, everybody, and welcome to another multi-dimensional soul. I'm Gary from Alternative Interactions, and you are?
Robert Lomax.
Thank you very much, Robert Lomax. Today, I've only got one question, and I think this question is going to go on for some time. So, and again, Robert and I have had a small discussion beforehand. Been a while since we've caught up with each other. I've been away. Robert's been away. We both had a lovely time away. So, let's get straight into it, shall we, Robert? Do you have an update for the recent energies? And I'm saying recent energies from around the 19th of July when the four planets went into the basket, all the way through to the 25th, stroke 26th, where we've had another energy change, another shift that certainly I felt. I've been feeling it. I did a show very recently, and many of my audience in the comments have been feeling it in multiple different ways. How have you felt it, Robert? And does Orlacka or Antemedi have an update for us about what's going on and what this really means for us, please?
Well, Orlacka, I suppose, started out by talking about the change in our emotional bodies, that we have a thinking, thought processing body, and it contains the whole of our mind as well. So she talked about our changing emotions, our emotional body being upgraded so that when we encountered situations where there was a duality or a fear, where we would in fact, it was a word that I had to work through. They gave me a word of tenacity. Um, it's something as humans we think is a great virtue, to be tenacious, to overcome in the face of adversity. But in order to be tenacious, we have to have the adversity. And as she's pointing out, we don't need to see the adversity. So we don't need to be tenacious in the same way. And how many of our thoughts and feelings in our emotional bodies are based around fear and the use of fear for the things that we do. And I don't think we understand the way in which our consciousness has been corrupted, to what level it's been corrupted, even in our own language, things in plain sight. So somebody standing in front of an audience giving a speech in a large audience, we might say, well, aren't they very brave? But if they were afraid of speaking to the audience, they would be brave. But if they were not afraid of speaking, they would not be brave. So this is what she was talking about. These are parts of the emotional body changing its processing. So a lot of this is happening sometimes at night, sometimes in dreams, um, sometimes in the situations that we're encountering, seeing people in a different way and reacting to them in a different way. And a lot of things coming to a head. So that's kind of where Orlacka came from in her descriptions of what these energies would be doing to us and doing for us, releasing us from our perceptions so that we're able to see a bit further, see more truth. And something we talked about was seeing more of the darker issues within society, which isn't at this moment part of where we're going with this. As for me personally, um, it's I don't want to talk about me and think and for other people to think, oh well, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. We're all experiencing it in our own ways. Um, And it doesn't mean that you should be doing this, or in order to be achieving, you should be doing this. That's the program, isn't it? Telling you who you should be and what you should be achieving. But for me personally, it's been quite a roller coaster. Um, One particular day on a Saturday happened to be the same for my wife as well. Um, we just did not have the energy to do anything. Spent most of the day sleeping. It wasn't a lethargy. It's just completely wiped out from the previous night. So there was an unconscious processing, um, and also a letting go of thoughts, letting go of these emotions within our bodies, and several nights of deep dreams, resulting in early morning wakes at 2 o'clock, unable to sleep and having to talk with my people, have conversations about what was going on, or they would give me a word or something to look at. But on one of these days, in fact, it was a Sunday, down at a place called Bramerton. It's only for people who know it in our local area. There's a common there. It's a bit like a park. But walking about, I felt as if I was a child again. A child that could lay back on a grassy hill like you were watching the clouds go past and see the faces or things that formed in the clouds, not worrying about the cloud that moved or the one that comes, just watching it happening all around you. And this was a sense of just being, of looking at other people around, wishing the best for them, seeing the happiness, enjoying the happiness that they had. And there was this sense that there was nothing to do. When we talk about letting go of some of our human drivers, I mentioned tenacity, we might think, well, what's going to move us forward? What's going to motivate us? What's going to create our movement forward? Well, our movement forward, or what we do, I mean, we all know that phrase that we are beings, not doings, and we don't have to do in order to be. But that was this essence of feeling that I was like the soul that came here before all of the other programming and this collective consciousness and the human way of being, and I'll call it the human way of being, the human experience, came in and took over. So it was like a kind of a reset, feeling, yeah, this is who I am. This is the real me. And that's the real us. You know, that we talk about the wisdom, we talk about the love that we have for one another, the benevolence. And quite often, and as Orlacka might say, we talk about these things, but we're talking about them through our current perspective of self and our current duality. So all of that construct that we still have, we superimpose upon this benevolence and this way of just being. Responsibility. And something Gary and I were talking about when we were talking about, won't go into what we were talking about, but other people. We can be responsible for other people. But where does that stop? You know, we have to, we do the best that we can, but we let them go with love. That if they decide to do whatever they want to do, even if we disagree with it, and I'm sure every single one of us can see friends or families where we wish the best for them, but we see that they're treading the same old hamster wheel and they're unable to get off the hamster wheel. And it's something that, the reward within duality is just in front of the hamster wheel. And we just keep on going round and we can't quite get there. So what do? Go faster? Go backwards? No, it's always out of reach. That's the whole point of duality. The whole point of this human, so that's not the whole point of the human existence. That's the way this construct in this 3D runs. So lots of changes, dreams, looking at the world in a different way, thinking about oneself in a different way, changing perspective. And I think trying to be gentle on ourselves. We're a work in progress. But then again, we shouldn't use human drivers to come in on that and say, and decide what that progress is. Our progress is also related to our family situations, our work situations, the people around us, how that flows with them and what they're doing. We're not doing this in isolation. So quite how we're stepping off the different hamster wheels at different times is another matter. So it's probably quite a long answer there, Gary, but hopefully.
No, it is perfect because I mean I've just done a very recent show and I'm talking about the mindfulness of the reaction to and saying no to the external stimuli, and that we actually do have a choice. And I think we're now seeing that choice, and some of us are having the choice taken from us almost by the actions of others or the way that we're interacting with others. And what this some of this planetary energy seems to have done is very much pulled the veil back a bit more. And we're seeing certain situations, we're seeing certain people, we're seeing certainly governments and the construct of the regressives in a way that is becoming more and more obvious, certainly to us, how nefarious the whole system is and how it's completely built on a tower of lies. You know, when we're thinking about the tower card in tarot, it's built on sand and the tower collapses. Well, the tower card is actually built on the foundation of lie after lie after lie after lie. And I think we're going to see this awakening. We're seeing this change. I've certainly had, fundamentally a dark night of the soul the other day from, I think it was the 25th. And there's all this energy coming into my body, not my mind, my body. And I was feeling all these emotions, couldn't sleep. And my mind actually went to you, and it was just like, this wasn't a light bulb moment or something. There wasn't that light coming in of ping, but actually it was because there was clarity on certain issues. There was clarity coming in that I'm still processing week, 2 weeks later. It's still going to be, I know it's going to be an ongoing process. We have more planetary alignments, more energies coming through. And it just seems to be this change that can't now be stopped.
What you were talking about there, Gary, is what they've not alluded to, but what they've said is the knowing, the just is, the part of us that is connected to all universal information, our oversoul, for example, our guides, however we want to call it, helping us with information, packages of information of just knowing. but not knowing how we knew, but just knowing. And sometimes we've got the answer in that knowing, or we know it's wrong, or we know that this world doesn't seem right, but it's about the knowing. And that was really interesting for you to explain it in your way, and perhaps me to put that turn of phrase on. And as for the changes in our energies, the letting go, it it's all interactive with what we were doing, with the energy that we have, and the energy also relates to what we're ingesting in terms of food. Now, I'm quite a foodie. Rightly or wrongly, I do like my meat. And the night before last, I had a wake up at 2 o'clock, and they were saying to me, "Do you want colon cancer?" And I said, "No." And that was a real shock as I woke up. So I came downstairs and had further chats. And I was reminded that I'd ignored the relationship of the energy of food, how we treat it, how we ingest things, and how, as beings of light, and as our bodies change, as our bodies become more crystalline, liquid crystal, it's just an exchange of a different chemical, I suppose the right way to put it, instead of carbon, but an ability for our bodies to hold more light. Therefore, it's important to not have junk food, to avoid the sugar rushes, to have these foods that were created to dumb us down and to affect and mess up our bodies. Our bodies are our thoughts and the domain in which we exist. So that was a reminder to me, you know, think about food, think about your relationship with it. You know, if we go back to First Nation cultures, the kind of relationships they had with the animals that they killed, they blessed them. They took it as a ritual, that they accepted it with love, and they gave back thanks to the earth and to that animal for providing its life force, for providing its energy. And so the energy that they absorbed wasn't just the food and the nutrients of the food, but the actual energy of what it was that they were eating. So, you know, I'm not going to, personally, I'm not going to bang a drum about what we should or shouldn't be doing, because I'm probably one of the worst culprits of the food I like. But I have made a bit of a change, and it actually has made a difference, because I'm noticing it already, because I'm thinking about it. And energetically, things are changing for us. One of my other experiences was to wake up and just not know what was going on. Again, I popped downstairs, had a conversation, and it was explained that, you know, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever you are in your particular part of the world, the veils are thinner because the collective consciousness isn't so active. More people are asleep. So that's a time where, say, the veils between, or the distance between the dimensions isn't hampered by that overlay of consciousness. And they just proceeded to pour energy into me. And I sat there for a while, you know, sort of in pain, I have to say. But again, it's just another example of the different ways that these new energies are affecting us. There's no prescribed way for it to be. Um, and disturbed sleep is one of these signs that things are going on for you. So I probably went off a little bit on a tangent there, Gary, but
No, that's a very good reminder because also some people are sleeping for England. You know, sleeping for England. It means they're sleeping an awful lot more than they would, and they're waking up tired and still sleeping. You know, say someone who'd normally sleep 8 hours, they could be sleeping 13, 12 hours at a time now. And cat naps in between as well as these energies and these upgrades almost and this change of environment is going on. I think we've had a change of environment with the planetary alignment. It is a cosmic clock, as I'm sure we'll go into a later date, but we are fundamentally in an evolving energy, and we are part of the evolution of that energy, and so we're going to feel it. Now, when we talk about sleep, human design is very fascinating on this. So while we're awake in human design, we have more centers, more gates, more stuff's active. When we lay down and go to sleep, most of the gates disappear. They shut off completely and leave us with a very limited, almost Neanderthal system that works. And what they say is that we absorb something called neutrinos, energy. And this energy affects us and allows us to almost upgrade, process, upgrade, process these neutrinos. But it's done in a way where most of the consciousness of the body is switched off. There's only certain key places that are awake. You know, I think what we're seeing at night time when the veil is it's finished, that bewitching hour almost, isn't it?
yeah,
Is that the planetary alignments, the changes that have happened and are happening still, the frequencies coming from these planets via the neutrinos that affect us are having a different effect on us at night time. And that's part of the reason why we're not sleeping the way we were, because we're absorbing different energies or frequencies from an upgrade of the realm almost due
yeah.
to the way the planets have aligned. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's see if I can, rather than Robert, see what spoken about earlier about the cogs of a wheel of a system. Indeed, how time itself appears to move around. The system is a series, if you could imagine a series of huge metallic wheels and cogs, intricately spaced in such a way that they move in a harmony while one clicks into another and the small ones move around the outside. In some ways, this can be seen as planets also around the whole thing being seen as not necessarily a timepiece, but a mechanism. So it can be seen as a mechanism of your 3D, your third density realm. So, as you rightly say, each of the cogs, some of which are planets, have different purposes, different energies. So, as those planets move around that big wheel, you have your can't even say astronomical movements of different energies and the way in which those energies interact. So the planetary alignments, the planetary energies are as much a part of the cosmos, as much a part of us. Now, one could say, gosh, that takes an awful lot to have that complicated system. How did that complicated system come into place? Well, it just did. And I know that as an answer is not an answer you want to hear because that sounds so flat and bland. But when you think of the just isness in terms of allowing all possibility for a massive experience within this realm, this thing, this system, this energy created itself. The whole thing is a hologram. The whole thing is energy in pulse. It's a series of evolving programs. So magnificent in the way that they are to create this experience. And something Gary mentioned to Robert earlier, and I understand that the two of you are going to talk about that slightly differently, or maybe in another session, is the way in which these cogs are now interacting with what Gary calls the dumb elite, the manipulation systems. So if you can imagine, and we talk about assuredness, if you can imagine the system that we have described, trying to put a matchstick in one of those cogs to stop that system, when that system has been a system that they have relied upon in the first place, that matchstick will have no effect on those cogs as they move around. Even if they piled millions of matchsticks into a particular area, it will not have an effect on that mechanism of the cosmos, of the universe, of us, because we are a part. I say we, that's the royal we. I'm talking as an Andromedan. I'm using we in the sense of human because I'm based in Robert's consciousness at this particular moment. So, yeah.
I think it's really interesting some of the points you made about the planets and the frequency shapes. And you almost did it out of, for me, not realizing you actually gave a curly shape. When we actually look at the planets and how they move through the sky, they don't just move in a direction. They actually are frequency fields. And if you lay them over the top of each other and lay the next one over the top of the other one and the next one, you almost get a toroidal field type effect, a Mandela effect of energy, frequency coming through, which is what affects us, particularly at night with the neutrinos, when we're switched off and when we're more able to absorb this energy almost.
And that's not localized, is it? It's, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. It was
No, that's
just,
perfect. Go on. No, it's not localized in any way, shape, or form. It is within the entirety of this toroidal field, this holographic realm or universe that we're currently experiencing in our perception of what we have here. It's just that during the day, because we have other gates and other systems working, we interact with that energy in a different way than we would when we're asleep. But what's very interesting is it's been shown that one group of people who are asleep will actually be receiving via quantum entanglement the experiences and energies of the people that are awake via this neutrino exchange, this frequency exchange, this quantum entanglement of everything via the toroidal field. And so while we're asleep, if another part of the realm is experiencing something quite strongly, that energy will affect us in our sleep, even though we're completely unaware of it. And vice versa. When we wake up, our experience is transferred over to those in the sleeping realm. And it's very much a complex system that creates the illusion of the reality. And it's just fundamental. And when you said about how this was all created, well, it just happened. What I got very strongly was the synchronicity of the planets and us are just is. It just is. And some things don't need explaining any more than the fact that it happened and we are symbiotic towards that. There is a when we say that we are the universe and the universe is us, they're just words. They don't really mean a lot.
No.
But when you actually start to look at this and realize that the frequency coming from a planet is exactly the same frequency that we admit we produce via our toroidal field, it's all symbiotic. It all fits in as part of the synchronicity. That's really quite mind blowing, and that then creates the consciousness and the experience of us.
That's a very good synopsis. But let me put a slightly different perspective on it. You have spoken about that in terms of universal energies and local energies and of human energies, which is correct and it works. That is so. But that is to consider yourself as human. Are you really human or just having a human experience? You see, when you go to sleep, you are in a higher light body. There are different higher light bodies. And at those levels, the quantum computer of the soul, if we put it that way, because there's a quantum computer of the universe, is involved with other souls, is involved with planetary energies, cosmology energies, all of these other energies, creating probabilities from all possibility. And it's not just for the day ahead, because these are being created for, I would say, the days, months, and years ahead. But then, time doesn't exist at that particular realm. It's just energy and energy return and seeing what the energy does. But then when you come back into your earth body, you are experiencing what you have already created. And whilst I could play with your mind and you could, or I don't mean play with your mind in that way. I mean, in a joking way. I could say that this is where I have been before and joked about free will, joked about decision, that you are having the experience of free will, but you've already created that. So at this particular moment in time, is it really free will? Because you've created it prior to experiencing it. But then the prior is outside of time anyway. So it's a massive creation, a massive return of energy of which you're a part.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Fundamentally, what we're saying here is that during our sleep time, independently from Robert and myself, we have experienced and gone elsewhere spiritually via our connection to source and the connection we have to everything else. And we've looked at all these possibilities and we've fundamentally had every possibility all at the same time. And when we've come down here, at this point in our perception of time, we're having a conversation that we've already had. And we're just reliving this conversation as a free will, as part of an energetic frequency that has already happened, but it hasn't happened on our linear timeline from our perception.
And as they say, get your head around that one.
So to round this off, just so we can, for the update, there is a huge amount happening, isn't there, Robert? Massive amount happening. And we will not necessarily see the fallout or the energy frequencies playing out until weeks, months, or even possibly years. But certainly the peak period of this energy is from when it's created to around 4 to 6 months afterwards. And so we have all these build-ups and these layerings of energy and frequencies from the planets that we're receiving now. The aha moment that some were expecting, well, that will come when you're ready to receive the aha moment, not when somebody bangs a drum and says you're now going to get it. This is a personal, individual journey of consciousness. When you've been asleep, you've already had the aha moment. It's already happened. And that was facilitated in our sleep during this period of July. It's just when it becomes relevant into your situation, when it will come in, and when you start to see things or aha moments or the knowings that Robert was talking about earlier come in, and you just know something and it becomes.
And in terms of the start to see things, this is something that Antemedi spoke about recently and in depth, was our interdimensional connections with galactics. I'll call them galactics, but they're part of our souls. It's soul expressions. So as we become more fluid, not so stuck, our minds are more pliable, or our energy is more pliable, and its vibrational rate changes. And so on a psychic level, if we want to call it that, we're all going to be becoming more intuitive. Gary, when he talks about what he's understood, he's using the just isness. He's using his intuition. It's just another facility. It's just, oh, I know this. This pops in. We're also going to be able to see intergalactics. You might see them as images, shadows, or just feel a presence. And so that's what we mean when we had a session before, that communication is already here. So that's one of the things that we can look forward to going forwards, that the finer our vibration comes, the more we let go of these human duality constructs, the more able and fluid that we're able to see these other aspects of ourselves.
Beautifully put. And I think on that note, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Robert Lomax. He's got a YouTube channel, and Robert's started to put out 1 or 2 videos now where he's talking via the information given to him by Orlacka and Antemedi. There's some very interesting messages coming through, which are definitely worth checking out. Facebook page and a website. Please check Robert out. Brilliant stuff. And I think with that, Robert, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.